As many of you know, I was raised in fundamentalist Christian churches for most of my childhood. In high school, I began exploring other denominations like evangelicalism, Orthodox Christianity, and Anglicanism. I have been to churches strictly against instrumental music, churches with full-on rock bands, and churches that preserve old forms of liturgy. While these obviously vary greatly from one another, all of them, at times, made use of a rhetorical technique designed to put worshipers in a certain contemplative headspace. That technique is, of course, repetition. One that springs to mind is a kind of call and response I've seen at many churches revolving around the phrase, "His love endures forever." And there's a good reason it shows up in lots of churches. It goes all the way back to a passage in the Hebrew Bible, Psalm 136. "Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His love endures forever. Give thanks to the God of gods. His love endures forever. Give thanks to the Lord of lords. His love endures forever. To him who alone does great wonders, his love endures forever. Who by his understanding made the heavens, his love endures forever. Who spread out the earth upon the waters, his love endures forever. Who made the great lights, his love endures forever. The sun to govern the day, his love endures forever. The moon and stars to govern the night, his love endures forever. To him who struck down the firstborn of Egypt, his love endures forever, and brought Israel out from among them. His love endures forever. With a mighty hand and outstretched arm, his love endures forever. And so on and so on.
And so on and so on and so on.
If you've never prayed or worshipped or meditated with the use of a repeated refrain before, it might seem a little strange. Is it just saying a slogan over and over, like a football chant or something? Maybe for some people, but I've noticed that when you fixate on a phrase and say it over and over, it can put you in an almost trance-like state. It can help you see that phrase from new angles. Have you ever said a single word over and over until it loses all meaning? That's a phenomenon called semantic satiation, and it happens because your brain gets a little bored with the lack of novelty, and it basically stops associating the signifier with the signified, so all you're left with is the sensation of hearing the sound. With repeated chants, prayers, hymns, and mantras, I think for a lot of people, a similar process happens with a slightly different outcome. When I assume a contemplative posture and repeat a phrase over and over, what I start to lose is my pre-programmed assumptions about that phrase or concept. I start to turn it over in my mind as if it was an unfamiliar object. I start to explore how meaning might be reattached to those signifiers. This process allows people meditating on a phrase to transcend deeply gouged mental pathways and habits and approach ideas with a fresh perspective. His steadfast love endures forever. His steadfast love endures forever. His steadfast love endures forever. What does it mean to endure something? Does that mean his love is under constant duress? From what? He's God. And forever, what does forever really mean? And his love, what does love mean in this context? He mentions slaughtering infants and then says his love endures forever. How do those concepts not clash with each other? If I just walked up to you in church and said, "Hey, good morning, brother, God's love endures forever," you'd say, "Amen, brother," and probably not even give it a second thought because, duh, God is love or whatever. The repetition in Psalm 136 and the riffs it has inspired in churches around the world instead forces the congregant to really hunker down with that idea and really engage with it in ways that habit and assumption have prevented. Anyway, let's talk about Chat Pile. Chat Pile is a noisy, sludgy metal band out of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. A chat pile refers to the mounds of poisonous waste from lead zinc mining that litter Oklahoma, Kansas, and Missouri, by the way. In 2022, Chat Pile released their first album, God's Country. Towards the end of the year, I started to see it pop up on lots of Bests of 2022 lists, so I decided to check it out. And the very first track I loaded up was called Why?
Why? Why? Why?
The song starts with this nasty, chunky metal guitar riff over pounding drums, and no sooner doth my head begin to bang when the vocals come in. And I'm gonna be honest, I kind of smirked and rolled my eyes when they did. In contrast with the dark and angry grind of the instrumentation, singer Ray Gun Bush's vocals come in at the 37-second mark sounding almost tired. He doesn't scream, he doesn't even sing. He just asks a simple question in an even tone of voice.
Why do people have to live outside?
I didn't roll my eyes because the issue of houselessness is unimportant. Quite the opposite, it is a hugely important issue in the United States and around the world, and that's why I was a little dismissive of the opening lyrics, because at first they seem really obvious. Why do people have to live outside in the brutal heat or when it's below freezing? There are people that are made to live outside. Why? Why do people have to live outside when there are buildings all around us with heat on and no one inside? Why? Again, not wrong, not unimportant, but yeah? It felt like an observation any grade schooler would make the first time they saw someone living beneath an overpass. I scrubbed around the song for a bit, figured I'd heard all it had to offer, I listened to the rest of the album, thought it was pretty good, and since it was Bandcamp Friday, I decided to just buy it and give it a shot to grow on me. And then one morning, weeks later, I decided I wanted to go on a frosty winter jog. I put in my earbuds, I got my random playlist started, I put on my gloves and hat, and I hit the pavement. And about halfway through the jog, along comes Chat Pile's Why.
Why?
Since I was all bundled up, I couldn't skip the track very easily, so I just let it ride. And something weird happened. I started to get sucked in. What had seemed like a repetitious, shallow observation started to mesmerize me. Why do people have to live outside? Why? Why do people have to live outside? Why? Why do people have to live outside? Why? 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 By the end of the track, there were literally tears in my eyes starting to freeze into my eyelashes. I was sad and angry, and I found myself saying, yeah, why do we make people live outside? We do have empty buildings. We do have the resources. Why do we put people through this dehumanizing ordeal? For what? For me, what seemed at first glance like a monotonous kind of facile slogan was, through repetition, transformed into an almost zen cone, knocking at the door of my mind, demanding resolution. See, the lyrics of this song are not some kind of limp liberal rhetoric meant to make a good bumper sticker for a Prius. This is pointed inquiry as a wedge, as a weapon. Why do people have to live outside? Why is society organized such that some people don't have shelter? Why are we just okay with our neighbors being discarded in this way? Answer up. No hiding behind, well, that's just the way things are. Why? Why are things that way? The genius of these lyrics is that the question is not rhetorical. There is an answer, and the answer indicts the very system that produces it. The answer to why people have to live outside is so noxious that many people in power spend a lot of time hoping you don't actually think too hard about it. They spend a lot of money and effort trying to bury that answer deep beneath a veneer of banal inevitability, because the truth is unforgivable. Some people have to live outside so that rich people can have just a little bit more. And perhaps even more painful to admit, some people have to live outside because we treat poverty and disability as moral failings, and we enjoy punishing people who can't keep up with us, who can't pull their own weight. Those truths are buried deep, and sometimes it takes the dogged repetition of a simple question to force us to unearth them for ourselves. So this of course took me back to my church days, contemplatively repeating phrases. His love endures forever. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. As it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Lord, have mercy upon us. Why do people have to live outside? I think religious institutions and social justice movements face a similar challenge when the rank and file members internalize their doctrines and the mission becomes a normal part of life. These institutions become a form of identity for the members. It's less what I do and more who I am. I go to church. I'm a good person. I believe the right things. I'm a communist. I'm a good person. I want the right things. This is natural and it's not any kind of moral failing, but sometimes that identity can become a kind of shield blocking us from deeper understanding. If we already believe we're the good guys, it can sometimes be hard for us to notice deficiencies in our own behavior or gaps in our own empathy. How many times have we seen people feel entitled to be ableist because they otherwise have good politics? How many times have we seen white people blow off the concerns of black comrades rather than slow down and take the opportunity to hear them out and engage? Virtue, good politics, whatever you want to call it. These aren't innate qualities that some people have and some people don't. They're the aggregation of the things we do. And we are going to miss opportunities to live up to our own standards if we get complacent thinking that we're one of the good guys now, that we've learned everything we need to know. So the next time you hear something that you've heard a million times before, something that you already know, something that you already have all the right beliefs about, maybe stop for a second. Maybe sit with that. Turn it over in your mind a little. Maybe repeat it to yourself. Maybe your familiarity is hiding something important, knocking at the door of your mind.